Today, the CDC reverses its mask guidance for vaccinated people, and also the January 6th Commission is in full throttle. You're gonna want to take your blood pressure medication for this one, ladies and gentlemen, and it all starts right now. Hey, welcome to the news and why it matters. I am Sarah Gonzalez, back from Nashville, taping with Candace Owens, and ready for these topics. And I could not have a better table here, group of people to talk about them with. We've got Jaco Booyens in the house, host of the Jaco Booyens Show. Thanks for being here. And Eric July, BlazeTV contributor, who is now officially off the market, a married man.
Yes.
So congratulations.
Off the market. Yes.
Congratulations. That's very exciting.
Thank you.
I know it's weird. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's wearing a ring on his finger. Does it feel weird?
Oh yeah, it does.
You getting used to it yet?
No, I'm getting there. I'm getting there because I don't wear jewelry like at all. So
Right,
like
right.
No watches, nothing.
Yeah.
Well, you'll get to the point where you feel like you're naked when you're not wearing it.
No,
so
you'll get there quick.
all right. So I know you guys are going to be shocked to hear that the CDC has now reversed its guidance. They might say based on data. I would love to see the data because it seems that our government agencies continue to reverse its guidance, update its guidance, and have absolutely no scientific proof or study or data to validate their reversal. Today, it is the CDC who is now recommending masks for some vaccinated people in certain situations. So here's what the CDC tweeted out. They said, the Delta variant is surging in the United States. New data shows Delta is much more contagious than previous versions of COVID. Unvaccinated people, get vaccinated and mask until you do. Everyone in areas of substantial and high transmission should wear a mask, even if vaccinated. So I just want to get this straight, you guys, because I'm having trouble understanding. I'm not a scientist, as I'm often told whenever I have questions about this guidance, which seems to be completely arbitrary. So help me walk through this, if you would, please. So the vaccine is safe and effective. You have to get it. But if you get it, you also should still wear a mask. And also you will still get COVID. It just will be less severe, but you still have to be quarantined. But also the vaccine definitely works and you should get it. I don't understand, if the vaccine works, why do you need to wear a mask even in areas of high transmission? Because the whole point is either the vaccine works or it doesn't. What am I missing here?
Yeah, so do I want to? Okay, I'm going to do it. The word suckers want to come out, right? Like, how do you feel? How you like me now? I mean, come on. Of course not. When the human immune system attacks a virus such as flu, maybe, let's talk, right? You form antibodies for all the strands of that flu virus for that season. Your body does that. You take a vaccine, it's for one strand.
Right.
One. This is as old as time. So we said this in the beginning. Vaccine, no. What's the vaccine going to do? It's going to do zero for you. And then I attack it with what else is in it, and it's social programming, all this stuff.
But still, we said this is going to be like the flu. It's not going away. It's going to be seasonal. You're going to get it every year.
Please prove to me how you're going to prove that you can eradicate a virus that you can't see. It's like saying, hey, we're going to chase the wind. We're going to bottle the wind. I mean, come on.
Anyone who's trying to get to zero COVID is like not basing anything in science or reality.
There's no science involved, Sarah, in any of this. There was no science involved. Oh, and then we know now, PCR test can't differentiate between the flu virus and the COVID virus. So all those deaths are by motorcycle.
It only took them 18 months, though, to figure that out.
Death by lightning strike that were all, COVID. No, maybe it's just flu.
Right.
Maybe a real severe flu. I actually felt worse with the flu than when I had the COVID flu, which the vaccine doesn't cover you for any of it. So now you took the jab, you got all kinds of crap in your body.
Which is your choice? Which is your choice? But I'm just asking.
But now you still got a mask on your face, a diaper on your face,
and that's what I would like to make sense.
No, there's no sense.
And people say, well, because the argument now, before it was, well, if you get the vaccine, you won't get it. Well, then they started realizing they couldn't sell that to the American population because
that
they were
was a
seeing
lie
too
to
many
start
people.
with.
I know it was, but there were too many people who were getting vaccinated and still getting it. And then they came up with, well, wait a second. Your symptoms will just be less severe, which, by the way, I would just like to point out, you cannot prove that it was the vaccine that made your symptoms less severe, especially when you have a virus that you were far likely to not have severe symptoms to begin with.
Move the goalpost.
Right.
Move
And
the
like,
goalpost.
well, yeah, he was vaccinated, but it would have been way worse if he wasn't. It's like,
probably.
you
How
have
can you prove that?
absolutely no idea that
true.
that's true, especially now that we've been through all of it. We've been through the first round. All of the vulnerable people have died off, which means the death rate is going to go down anyway, because the vulnerable people, I'm sorry, God rest their souls, but they're gone, right? So take those out of the equation. Bring into the fact that we know more about the virus, we know about the therapeutics, we know how to treat the patients well, but it's definitely the vaccine that made people have less severe symptoms and less hospitalizations and less deaths.
And if you look at it in context, which I think a lot of people lost sight of when looking at these numbers, is like we take it for surface level, and generally it's just how it's reported. So X amount of deaths. And that's about it. Yeah. Instead, if you look at more detail, I'm not even talking about just like reassessing them in terms of, okay, that this person died with COVID or without it. I was reading a case out there of the public health officials, I believe it was in New Jersey. It was 50 people that had passed that were fully vaccinated, and they said that they passed of COVID. A lot of them were older, and it was breaking down. I was like, I wonder how much data that we have access to that kind of tells a little bit of the same story. Are they going to lead with that? Of course not. Yeah. And when it comes to CDC, this is all arbitrary. It's or they'd have to concede one of 2 points, that it is arbitrary, or that the vaccine simply does not work in the same capacity that they said that it did previously, which is most likely true, which is why you're getting them reacting in the way that they are. This is no different from when they had reversed the reversal of the initial COVID. Now they reversed it again. Uno card here. So they reversed it again, and it's not like they stumbled across something. They'll say it, but what data are they actually looking at aside from the fact that, okay, well, the people that they claim are obviously unvaccinated are being hospitalized because of this virus and so forth. But the point is that if the vaccine works like you had been saying, none of this should matter. That person, if it works,
that's right.
If it works like that's all I'm going about, America and the YouTube overlords, is if it works like they're telling me that it works, this is nothing but symbolism, which I thought that it was before anyway.
Which Anthony Fauci admitted that it was.
Same with the mask. If the mask actually works, we can have the same conversation.
Right.
Bingo. It's symbolism more than anything. It's not like they're stumbling across some new information. I was reading in sports, you keep hearing about these fully vaccinated athletes. Christian Yelich today, Major League Baseball, completely fully vaccinated, test positive. So, and again, there's so many different angles to that we're just now starting to work out. When they talk about for example, with the PCR test, the fact that we got to this point to where we're at now is only because they didn't allow the conversation to be had earlier.
That's right.
That's it. We would have sorted this out a long time ago. But hey, anybody
last year.
Bingo. Yeah. It's like if we say something about it, well, it gets taken down. No matter if you are a conspiracy theorist, all of that sort of stuff. Instead of us having some open dialogue, because honestly, who knows what exactly is where the error, where the hiccup is? Is it their understanding of the virus itself? Is it their understanding of how the tests are? Is it a misunderstanding of how the vaccine actually work? It could be all of it, but we're not allowed to have the conversation. We have to sit up here and wait for these government organizations to sit there and contradict themselves from what they said 3 months ago, and it lets you know that this has absolutely nothing to do with science. So when we look at this, when it's be the viewers that are watching us over at Blaze or anybody that is at least mildly skeptical of what's going on, they are absolutely justified because you keep contradicting yourself. So it's not like they're getting even the honest information from you.
You know, when they were saying we don't know why people wouldn't take the vaccine, and Eric, we did a show together, and you said, hey, it's my right, it's my right. This is the very reason why it is justified. This is why, because it's been like this since day one.
Fauci was the perpetrators of vaccine hesitancy.
Remember, Fauci's like, well, no, you can touch surfaces. No, you can't touch surfaces. It's airborne. It's not airborne. Mask, no mask. I mean, it's constantly been this because there has been no actual science behind it. Maybe, just maybe, they are now allowing the conversation like the PCR to come to the surface because they need some wiggle room to say, well, see, we haven't quite figured it out yet. And because we haven't, no matter that we told you we did, and the vaccine's going to cure everything in your life, because the only disease you could possibly contract today is COVID, right? But no matter about that, we need some wiggle room now, because we need to convince you to put the mask back on, because you're in danger again, right? So we need to now say, well, maybe the PCR conversation should come, to the surface, because the test doesn't really work, so you're not quite safe yet, Eric. So get back in your house, hide your kids, hide your wife. Hide your kids, hide your wife. You remember?
It does seem like we discuss this on the show often, that they are going with the typical leftist mentality, which is, well, if it doesn't work, you just do that thing more.
And do it
and
again.
then it will work,
but it's
right?
like
it's not working, so the answer is to get more people to do the thing that's not working in the first place.
What did the president say? We're going to spend our way out of inflation.
Right.
Just spend more. Yeah, that's
he did
exactly.
say he would reduce inflation 3 times, so that means that they're really going to reduce inflation, because he did say it 3 times.
Throwing crap at the wall.
That's
what government does.
So get the vaccine 7 times and see it doesn't work for you.
So I want to just kind of to piggyback off of that, because the CDC, they did not just make these recommendations for masks for vaccinated people. They also came out and kind of tagged along with what the American Academy of Pediatrics had said, which was they are now recommending, the CDC is also, that everyone in kindergarten through 12 schools wear a mask regardless of vaccination status. So similar to this new recommendation for adults in, places where COVID is surging, but also for the kids. Now, I do want to. Let me just bring into the conversation, because we did talk about the American Academy of Pediatrics. We did talk about, pose the question, is there a conflict of interest when it comes to the American Academy of Pediatrics and Pfizer? Because we did see straight on the American Academy of Pediatrics website that Pfizer was one of their supporters. We talked about this last week on the show. And those of you who are watching right now, you can see this was straight from the AAP's website. It shows Pfizer is one of their top financial supporters. So sometime in between the time we did the show last week and Saturday, I discovered that if you go back to the website of the American Academy of Pediatrics, magically, just like that, the Pfizer connection is gone. They have completely scrubbed that Pfizer connection from this page. It no longer lists Pfizer. Again, those of you who are watching can see the change that they did right there. They included the nonprofit organization that was below Pfizer and completely removed Pfizer from that list. So I'm just saying, we have these government organizations who are working with these, Pfizer, who are working with the American Academy of Pediatrics, they are all intertwined here. I'm just saying, is it a coincidence that now all of a sudden the CDC is recommending this? I mean, wasn't it the CDC who was taking tips from the largest teachers union before they released their guidance?
Yeah, same institution.
Right, but definitely this is definitely
that sort of
science.
cronyism and all of that stuff that a lot of leftists claim to be in opposition of is what you see going on certainly in the government. And to act like, and speaking of leftists, gaslighting, which is what they do best. And I guess that's my biggest frustration with this, is that the conversation simply is not ever allowed to be had. Right. So you look at something like that would be alarming if we looked at it from anything else. Yeah. It is sketchy, right? I
mean, at the bare minimum, you should be able to ask questions.
Ask questions like that. Hold on. There's a big time. It has to be a conflict of interest here in some way, but you're not even allowed to bring that up. And I want people that, if you watch this show, for example, and you are, let's say, not what people would generally consider the folks that I guess on this side that watch stuff like Blaze, just think critically about that. These people basically made it illegal. I mean, by illegal, I'm using that term very loosely, for you to even be mildly skeptical of anything it is that they said. That was that didn't officially come from them. Yeah. So if it didn't come from the government, it didn't come from the public health officials, and it didn't matter. It wasn't like if it was just a guy like myself who isn't necessarily a doctor. No, you could be a scientist. Right. You could be a doctor.
Graduate from the same school.
Same schools, and you would still get all the people that
were the content from their website.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
From
Take
their screenshot from their own website.
Take a screenshot from their website, which they wrote, and still, you could not quote that.
Yeah.
Sorry,
because they don't want you to I guess spread this sort of what they deem as skepticism. But I think the skepticism of anything definitely, it's weird, I guess, because we're talking about science. And that's basically all science necessarily is. You have these theories, you're constantly testing it to ensure that this is, let's say, true, or how truthful it actually is. But they don't allow that. It's one opinion and one opinion only. And outside of that, well, you must be a conspiracy theory, even if, and this is the thing I want you guys to think about, even if they contradict themselves, it's always they are right, or they are now following the science. And like I've said on this show before, science does not rest upon man's, let's say, how they stumbled across it. If they got there early, if they got there late, it is, let's say, what it actually is, not necessarily science, but what is true. So what you're actually doing is what we deem as a logical fallacy, and that is an appeal to authority. That's it.
So in a different time in my life, I studied medicine. Okay? It's called practicing medicine because you are in a process of discovery. There were no practicing medicine with COVID. It was one size fits all. We say this is the way. Whoa. Did we test? Did we try to see what happens to a community when you lock them down and you mask them and you don't? No. We're not going to practice medicine anymore. We just know. And then 3 months later, we're now enlightened. Now we changed our opinion. Now we know, and then people say, well, Yaku, that's practicing medicine. No, it's not, okay? Because you don't have two subgroups that you're running a test on. You just locked the world down. You just drove parents crazy and kids crazy and caused who knows what other kinds of conditions that we don't know. So it's been with reckless abandon that they've approached this thing with saying one size fits all, which never works, okay? We can't even walk into the clothing store on one size fits all, okay? One size fits all does not work with medicine particularly. It doesn't work with psyche, with the the effect on kids, the collateral damage and all that stuff. And so they have thrown caution to the wind. They've violated so much of the oath they take as people in medicine and in science. They throw the word science so loosely, right? There's zero behind it. And you said there's probably a lot of data. There's a ton of data. Will we see it? No.
Yeah. No. All right, we've got much more to come. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Omega XL. So if you are just living in constant pain, what you probably don't realize, because you're still in pain, is that the cause is likely inflammation. And unless you are actually defeating that inflammation, you're not going to get to the root cause of the problem. And it can also cause permanent damage if you're not careful. Omega XL is backed by 35 years of clinical research, and it actually attacks the inflammation that is causing your pain, so you don't have to go and rub some topical cream on your shoulder because it hurts and it feels really great for 10 minutes and then it hurts again. Omega XL is actually going to neutralize that inflammation that causes the painful stiff joints and muscles. Now, let me tell you, it is an essential fatty acid combination from the waters of New Zealand. And I know I'm going to be sexist for a second. I know there are a lot of men out there right now who are like, oh, the natural stuff doesn't work. Yes, it does. And our very own Pat Gray can attest to that because he was having a really bad elbow problem, couldn't even lift a coffee cup, started using Omega XL. In 1 week, he started to feel tremendously better. In 2 weeks, the pain was absolutely gone. So it does work. Don't be a naysayer when it comes to natural remedies. By the way, if you can get out of pain, it is life-changing. So let's get you started. Order Omega XL now and get a second bottle for free. If you go to omegaxl.com/news, I am telling you, it will change your entire life if you can get out of pain. Try it. It is omegaxl.com/news. 4 police officers delivered very emotional testimony today about what they say was physical and verbal abuse that they endured during defending the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. Now, I'm sure those of you, the political junkies out there who were, watching glued to the screen during the beginnings of this January 6th committee hearings. But let me just tell you, I think they all deserve Academy Awards. I think it was a very, very, very well-delivered emotional testimony. Unfortunately, I'm not sure how much of the testimony lines up with factual evidence that we have about what happened that day. Let's play. Let me play a couple clips for you guys. Let's do one of the officers, Officer Dunn, who was talking about all of these people who were coming to the Capitol and refers to President Trump as a hitman. Watch.
So what I ask from you all is to get to the bottom of what happened. And that includes, like, I echo the sentiments of all of the other officers sitting here. I use an analogy to describe what I want as a hitman. If a hitman is hired and he kills somebody, the hitman goes to jail. But not only does the hitman go to jail, but the person who hired them does. There was an attack carried out on January 6th, and a hitman sent them. I want you to get to the bottom of that. So, thank you.
This is feeling a lot like I'm just watching another impeachment trial, except the president is already gone. He's already gone. We don't need to continue to rehash this because he is already gone, people. Get a new hobby. Here is an embarrassing clip from Representative Adam Kinzinger, who, never wastes an opportunity to make things very, very dramatic. He is, I think, a bigger drama queen than me, which is saying a lot. Here is Adam Kinzinger tearing up during the hearing. Watch.
I never expected today to be quite as emotional for me as it has been. I've talked to a number of you and gotten to know you. I think it's important to tell you right now, though. You guys may, individually feel a little broken. You guys all talk about the effects you have to deal with, and, you talk about the impact of that day. But you guys won. You guys held. Democracies are not defined by our bad days. We're defined by how we come back from bad days, how we take accountability for that. And for all the overheated rhetoric surrounding this committee, our mission is very simple. It's to find the truth, and it's to ensure accountability.
It's just that, we aren't a democracy. And I would just like to point that out to the representative who calls himself a Republican.
Yeah. One, not a democracy, we're a republic. And those who fought for the republic had balls of steel, which you don't have.
Unlike Adam Kinzinger.
You would have run for the hills, okay? Coward, what a sideshow, what an even as a director, what a terrible performance. That's a terrible performance. I gave it an F-, okay? F-. If you're gonna cry, really cry. It's a disgrace, right? It's such virtue signaling, all right? It is despicable at a level where if society had their minds right, they would call for his position tomorrow and go, can we please remove the weakling and put someone of power and of virtue back in that seat to go represent the American people. Is that what we're paying that guy for?
Well, look, I think that, when all of this was going on, I was very clear to not condone the activities that the people engaged in. But it makes it very hard to jump on board with people who just make it their new life's mission to turn January 6th into another September 11th. I mean, that it very clearly is not what happened. But during this hearing today, I was reading that someone referred to Officer Brian Sicknick as dying in the line of duty, which we know is a complete lie.
Where's
right?
the facts?
So,
that's what
right.
I'm asking
And so it's
for,
people didn't approach you with guns and threaten your life. So, I mean, I'm sorry that there was a poor response by the Capitol Police. But honestly, if I'm talking about what we want to look into from beyond 1-6, I'm thinking to myself, you guys should probably figure out what your response is going to be next time, because obviously you guys were very not ill prepared to take on anything. Thank God it wasn't an infiltration of another country.
All right, what about a balanced tribunal? Okay, do you think they'll have Elijah Schaffer on there? Do you think they'll question Elijah Schaffer and say, Elijah, you were literally in the thick of things. Elijah, what did you see, Elijah? No, they won't have him on. Will they have anybody on there that will bring balance to the conversation?
Right.
No, that's a cast. Yes, they're speaking from their own, but it's hand-picked, hand-selected. It's like, oh, what's your answer? We've all been to talk shows. Hey, Jimmy's going to ask you a question. What are you going to answer? That doesn't work. What are you going to answer? Yes, he can answer you, and he can ask you a question. And so it's so orchestrated to a degree. And I'm not saying they're fake, but where's the balance? Because it's completely one-sided. And so America, again, sees one solution, one version, right? It's so because we say it's so. Well, 3 officers said, bring me another 50 officers. Bring me some officers that voted for President Trump. Oh, no. No. Can't go there.
It's so over the top theatrical. I just have a hard time buying into it, Eric.
Well, I was the one on the show who didn't really even condemn the acts. And I know this may get me in trouble, but I guess when I talk about this, you can really see the difference between myself and certainly others. Mm-hmm. Congress, I need people to understand, are criminals. And I know that that's so hard for people to grasp, because they like to, and that's due to the government propaganda. As we look at them as this uber protected class of people that just represent, I hate that term, people that are, of course, living in this country. They are the people, when we talk about definitely, obviously, at the federal level, when you look at the bad spending habits, how they devalue your money, how they've regulated you to death in the process, and how they have sent your kids off to die in perpetual wars. The people with the R's and the D's next to their name are the sons of guns, call them something else, that are crying right now because somebody, as I always say, kicked their feet up on Nancy Pelosi's desk. Yeah. And they didn't just try to get away from the situation. They were going into the back, ducking and doing all of that. That's the criminal class of people. This is why I call it a cathedral. The criminal class of people that send your children away to die. Of course, I don't believe a hill of nothing that they say about this. And when you talk about the guy saying his first time he'd ever been called the N-word, everybody was surrounding him. Nothing happened to him, of course, but everybody was surrounding him saying, we're going to show you. I don't believe nothing. It doesn't, definitely when we understand what happened, like with the Brian Sick Nicholas still clinging on to that lie that he got beat to death with a fire extinguisher, and that never happened. And meanwhile, last year, in the summer of 2020, as people in Congress were egging these people on, as we know, every time they got together for these peaceful protests, it ended up in private institutions and private businesses, the people that actually make this country run, not those quacks and criminals, the folks that you actually get goods and services from. They were burning them bad boys to the ground, looting everything up out of it, and they will never be held responsible for this. But because I'm supposed to feel sorry that the criminal class, none of them died, by the way, none of them got killed. The criminal class all of a sudden is, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. No, I'm not trying to hear that. So I wasn't one of the ones that condemned them, because I actually believe that they're criminals, and I have no desire to get in a gang fight.
Because they're saying you're coming for us, and how dare you come for us. So I want to see, okay, you have your round, like you had your impeachment round. Now let's have our round and line up all the police that were spat at and name called for standing and defending businesses in the middle of peaceful protests. Are we going to have that tribute? Are we going to have that, session of saying, hey, officer, what did Antifa call you in the street? What did they throw at you? They spit in your face, set your cop car on fire. Where's the balance? There's no balance. Yeah. Sarah, there's no balance. I'm telling you, this is if Americans look at this and don't go, that's it. Yeah. That's it. Politicians, scum, take it back, term limits, kick him out of office, literally take your communities back, then I don't know what will wake this country up.
So let me really quickly, I know we have to go to break, but I do want to, Eric was talking about the criminal class and all of these people who are acting like it was so horrible for them. Let's bring into the conversation Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who there was a Project Veritas video that leaked of her being interviewed by Dana Bash over at CNN. Now, I just want to, just for perspective here, do you guys remember Alexandria's Instagram live video where she talked about, what did she say? I need therapy. It was so horrible for me. And then we found out later that she wasn't actually in the building that all of this happened in. She was in another building, so was completely safe from all of this. Yet here is what she had to say in this leaked video from Project Veritas. Watch.
That attack on the Capitol, white supremacy and patriarchy are very linked in a lot of ways. There's a lot of sexualizing of that violence. And I didn't think that I was just going to be killed. I thought other things were going to happen to me as well.
So what sounds like what you're telling me right now is that you didn't only think that you were going to die, you thought you were going to be raped.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to hear that. I'm not trying to hear that.
She's part of the criminal class as well.
I'm just
She's
not
also,
trying to hear that.
Just real quick, she's also a compulsive liar, considering not only did she just double down on that deal, she also claimed that, well, okay, maybe y'all caught me, okay, I wasn't near there, but they were also putting bombs in our buildings too. That was also a lie. You can fact check me on that if you like to do that as well. They still don't even know what these supposed bombs were, and they were like 2 freaking blocks away from both the DNC and the Republicans as well. So she's a compulsive liar on top of that.
I know you say the president's out, but we still need to have truth speak. The man said, look, go down there peacefully. Okay?
Yeah, 100%.
They crossed gates 15 minutes before the speech.
Stop obsessing over him. He's already out.
And listen, you want to talk about intertwined? It's your party that's allowing women to be raped in this country. You want to talk about rape? Then get your party to do something about actually caring about people, because they care zero about people. They care about themselves.
Yeah. All right. We've got more to come. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Built Bar. So for those of you who you are placing all of your orders with Built Bar all the time and you're like, dang it, Sarah, you've given me a new addiction. First of all, you're welcome. Second of all, be on the lookout, because what I have heard from them is that Rocky Road is a new flavor that is coming soon. And I am a little bit salty. I saw some of your comments like, oh, Sarah's like a little bit bitter that she hasn't tried the Rocky Road. I am. I really want to try it because I bet it tastes delicious. You know how I know that? Because all of their bars are freaking awesome. They're really healthy. They're high in protein. They're high in fiber, but they're low in calories and carbs. And you can get that sweetness, right, that you are craving without all of those high calories that are going to pack on the pounds. So if you're looking for a healthy snack that is going to keep you hitting your weight loss goals, you got to try Built Bar. Go to built.com. Use promo code NEWS15. You'll save 15% off of your first order with the code NEWS15 only at Built, B-U-I-L-T, built.com. American gymnast Simone Biles apparently pulled out of the Olympic team competition after it had started today. Now, the original reports that surfaced said that she had pulled out due to an injury, and everyone went, oh my God, what happened? What's wrong? And then they realized, they said, no, actually, it's a mental health issue. It's not an injury. And then it kind of transpired as people started finding out more information, and it actually just turns out that like she got some low scores and she didn't like it and she just felt too stressed. So she just thought, I mean, I probably should just quit instead of like just making a determination that I'm going to follow through with what I said that I would do. Here's Simone Biles on dropping out. Watch.
I say put mental health first, because if you don't, then you're not going to enjoy your sport and you're not going to succeed as much as you want to. So it's okay sometimes to even sit out the big competitions to focus on yourself, because it shows how strong of a competitor and person that you really are, rather than just battle through it. And it's been really stressful, this Olympic Games. I think just as a whole, not having an audience, there are a lot of different variables going into it. It's been a long week. It's been a long Olympic process. It's been a long year. So just a lot of different variables, and I think we're just a little bit too stressed out.
If that is not the perfect representation of like millennial America, I don't know what is. I just was like too stressed out, and I just thought, yeah, I could actually follow through and try to compete in such a humongous event, or I could just quit. So I just quit.
Can I put this into perspective? Okay.
Please.
It's the Super Bowl. There's 2 teams. You're playing for a winner, loser. First position, second position. Third quarter, the quarterback goes, you know what? I'm just kind of in my head today. That was her excuse. I'm in my head. It's not an injury. Okay. It was not an injury. She performed poorly from her first floor routine.
Right.
She had a massive misstep, 2 steps out, 0.3, reduction, stepping off her floor routine. She wasn't herself. With bad performance, right? So imagine the quarterback in the third quarter just go, you know what? I'm just kind of in my head, boys. Yeah. I'm sitting this one out, and my name's Tom Brady. And now the team goes down the toilet. Hey, but don't worry, you won second place. That's our defense. Don't worry, we won silver. I'm so proud. No, you're in the team because you're a critical part to win gold. You're expected to win gold. If you win gold and perform, if you win silver and perform the whole time, good on you. But you just made sure your team went to silver.
Yeah.
And she'd go, oh, but I'm fine. I've got 5 world champions and a lot of gold medals, so you girls should be okay with silver. No, they may never go back to the Olympics. And the excuse of, it's a tough year, it's a tough... Nonsense. You're an athlete. You should not have gone.
Yeah.
Okay, if it's just too stressful, then don't go.
Is it not just the perfect representation of America? Just like, well, we could have gone for gold, but it stressed me out too much.
And just for perspective, because I know people are going to look at this, and she positioned herself in a perfect position because anybody that criticizes it is going to be inconsiderate.
Yes,
you don't care about mental health and all this other stuff.
And
that's bullcrap. And I'm speaking as an athlete as well. You can go check the stats. I did it all the way up through the collegiate level. And it's not just any other athlete that, for context, people that don't follow this, she's supposed to be like the greatest of all time. Not just like
she's been
just
under
like
stress
now.
before, Eric.
Right.
A lot of stress.
Of all time. And from a sports perspective, I do think this is what separates generations. And I know that people are becoming more cognizant of like the whole mental health approach. But where I vehemently disagree with her is that she said that instead of like sticking it out, it shows how strong that you are, because she's saying, I can't handle this right now. I'm going to take it off. I disagree. You would have showed how strong you were if despite all of that, you would have still went out there and competed. Maybe you don't win. Maybe you don't do as good as you were anticipated, but you take it on the chin.
You take it on the field.
And that's what the greatest athletes, or people that we think are great athletes, have historically done. When we talk about Michael Jordan, and we talk about like flu game and all of that stuff, these guys facing some sort of adversity and then going out there and competing and being great. Just saw with Tom Brady, he apparently had a torn MCL that whole entire time that he was playing. Like, you're an athlete. Your one thing to do is to get out there and compete, and obviously you are going to face some sort of adversity no matter what sport it is. You're on the biggest stage right now. Definitely when it comes to her sport, it doesn't get any. It's different with maybe basketball and stuff.
This is the Super Bowl.
This is basically the equivalent to your Super Bowl. This is all eyes on you, and you're basically quitting because you're going through something. And I'm not going to try to act like I'm in her head. I don't want people to get it twisted. What I'm saying is that, just like you maybe this year have been going through something because, the lack of crowd, so are your teammates. Mm-hmm. So are these other guys. They're going through the same thing, man.
I'll say this, had she finished the team competition, right, and she was making the individual finals, the all-round finals, and she said, in the all-round final, I'm going to pull out. Right. And I'm not going to go. Different conversation. Right. Okay. May I remind you, you go to the Olympics to do what? To represent your country. Mm-hmm. You said something earlier. This is the epitome.
Yeah.
Okay. Of the millennial culture. If it gets
it's
tough,
where America's headed.
Bail.
Yeah.
Oh, represent my country? Nah. My teammates? No. It's all about me.
It's all about me.
And then I'm going to spin it in some cockamamie way to make you think I'm just amazing. No. Do you know that she won a medal in the Olympics because one of her teammates vaulted on a broken ankle? Mm.
Wow.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Can we just roll the clock back for a second?
Yeah.
I just didn't, in my head. Now, I don't want to be a hypocrite. Yes, Simone has been a victim of sexual abuse. Absolutely. Those things, and maybe Simone, maybe there's a real deep, trauma-informed therapy that has to happen. But she's won multiple gold medals under extreme pressure. Okay, yeah. So the excuse was, it's just too tough to be the number one in the world. Then don't go to the Olympics.
And then again, considering what had happened after, like the bad performance, that looks bad, because then it's like, okay, I can't handle the pressure right now. Everybody's expecting me to win, and now I'm not, so I'm quitting. It just looks terrible.
Yeah, really bad. All right, we got to take a break. We'll be back. We have lawmakers. This is an issue we talk about often on the show. I know we only have a couple minutes here, but there is a father in Minnesota who is lawyering up, considering a lawsuit against a gender clinic for affirming his 9-year-old autistic son as a transgender lesbian. So he says he tried to, the gender clinic tried to refer his son, who is autistic, for puberty blockers. After affirming him as transgender, and the son was only 9 years old. So, and by the way, he had accidentally discovered this at the time. It was 2010, and at the time, they have the same name, the dad and the son. So he discovered this because he was accidentally sent these medical records because they were linked to his name. And he realized that, of course, it was the mother who was taking him to.
Look, I don't want to get into that conversation.
It was the mother who was taking him to this clinic, and now the dad is lawyering up.
You know why?
So,
Because Ken is an
autistic
accessory. Ken is an accessory, and they want little Ken dolls to
And
play
let me
with.
just say, he has started to receive, the mother gave consent for him to receive this treatment that the father is now trying to block, trying to prevent from continuing to happen. But the medical community is broken.
Probably Lupron
It's
is
just
the drug
completely
they gave him.
broken.
It's probably Lupron, and that's the drug they gave him. And I'm literally speaking about this in Texas tonight, because in California it's law, age 3 and up. Kids can get puberty blockers. The parents can't stop it. Kids get sexual agency. And by the way, can we just zone in on this is a kid with autism?
Right.
Okay, this is a kid that can't really completely speak for himself or handle himself. So it's child abuse. That's what this is. This is a parent doing child abuse. The autistic kid now, come on. It's sick.
It really is
look,
sick.
we're long beyond the whole slippery slope fallacy. People that watch the show have heard me say this before. We just wanted to get married and that was all that wanted to happen. And okay, that's all fine and dandy. But if we can't agree that the kids should stay out of this stuff, okay, we have ourselves an issue. And that's what happened. So at minimum, you'd have to concede that those, which weren't me, it wasn't me. I'll be the first to tell you, I wasn't the one that was on the right side of this. That's fear that it would make its way to the kids. Because America, think about that, what we're discussing. A 9-year-old autistic kid and basically essentially castrating. Mm-hmm. That's the discussion that we're having. Yeah. And in America, and somehow we can't
with
figure that it's
and we don't frown upon the parent.
Right. Around one of the parents, which again is a kid. First of all, at that age, they can't consent. Number one, no. Let's get that freaking straight. Yet alone the fact that the person's autistic. This is a fundamental issue that we've long, and this is why I was maybe we need a crusade. I was joking about this, but we're long beyond the whole slippery slope. We're off a cliff. We're free falling because. You think that no matter what it is, because you wouldn't, it doesn't matter if it was like tattoos, doesn't matter what it is. The one thing, if you want, as weird as I might think it is, when you're 18 years old, to go do whatever it is that you want to do.
Right.
But this is a freaking 9-year-old child that they are talking about doing permanent, irreversible damage to. We have ourselves an
Eric's
issue.
3 years old in California. By law, Gavin Newsom, and he's brilliant, wrote an executive order. Go look at it.
He's a comic book villain.
That's insane.
And he
All
looks
right,
like one, too.
we got to take a break. We'll be back. He really does.
No, seriously. Every time I see him, he looks like a freaking...
Hey, those of you who have not yet gone to wherever you get your audio podcasts, you got to go there right after this program. Go subscribe to the News and Why It Matters. Rate it, review it. Obviously, give us 5 stars because we're awesome. Give us a good review. You might see it read live on air like the one today from Hazel Ava, which is, of course, Yaku. You'll appreciate this. How do you spell Yaku's name? I love when you have Eric July and Yaku on.
That means I'm Japanese.
I always try to find his show, but I have no idea how to spell his name. Help! Also, I love everyone else too. So just for the record, I know we talked about this the other week, but it is JACOBOOYENS. And every once in a while, you should just watch so you can see our smiling faces, and you'll see it on the screen. And then here's one from, I think maybe it's supposed to say Blonde Sassy. I'm not sure. Maybe you're just trying to trip me up. I don't know. But great show as always. I look forward to it every evening. Y'all tell it like it is, and as always. And always add a little humor. Best news show ever. We appreciate the kind comments. Keep them coming, people. Also, don't forget, I am joining Candace Owens tonight on her show. It is exclusively on the Daily Wire. It was myself and Clay Travis on her panel, and you guys are not going to want to miss it. I believe it airs at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. So make sure to go and catch that. Thank you, gentlemen.
5 stars, Sarah.
See you guys tomorrow.